So I found that I have a hairline crack in my gray water tank. So to repair this, I'm going to use a technique called plastic welding. So recently, when my tanks had filled up, I noticed my one gray water tank was leaking. You can kind of see where it's leaking down the edge here. I discovered there's a crack right here along one of the edges of the water tank, right up here near where the vertical meets into the horizontal surface here. Probably a stress crack of some kind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what's called plastic welding, and to weld this additional plastic in order to seal this. So the objective here is to take this heated iron and run it along where this crack is at to essentially melt the plastic. So what you're trying to do is get it to kind of seal back up on its own, but you don't need to apply a lot of pressure. Just a little bit of pressure. This heating iron will do all the work. It'll start to melt both sides of that crack, and then what we'll do is we'll actually go over the top of that with some additional plastic, and then we'll put some metal mesh over the top of it, and then more plastic. And the idea is to reseal this up and make it more watertight. So due to the angle that I'm working at, I wasn't able to get a really good, really, I guess, clean joint there, but you can see where I melted in the new plastic, and it comes in like a plastic rod, essentially, just like that, just a stick of plastic. And then you put this up against here, heat up your iron, and then just kind of move this along, and it will naturally come off, and then it will actually stay behind. And it'll get pretty hard once it dries. It's a little bit soft yet. And as an additional measure, what I'll do now is I'll put some of the steel mesh into there, lay it on the surface, get it hot. It will start to kind of, this plastic will melt around the metal mesh, and then I'll put some more plastic on top of the metal mesh, and it'll just kind of further reinforce it. What I'm going to do next, I cut off this little piece of wire mesh that came in the kit that I bought. Just going to press it up in there, just kind of getting it over the top of that glue I just put on. And then now I need to heat the mesh up, and the heat will transfer back to the melted plastic behind it, and it will start to seep into the mesh to hold that in place. So here's after I've heated up the mesh some, and you can see where the plastic behind it that I'd previously put on started to melt and seep into or wick into the metal mesh. And now I'm going to add some more new heated glue on top of the metal mesh. So here's the finished job. So it's not the prettiest looking joint, but it does have the initial plastic weld, the mesh weld pressed into it, and then some more plastic weld on top. And it was a fairly small crack line, so I think it should be fine. So I'll test it out and see if it's holding water. The kit that I got from Harbor Freight, it's a Chicago Electric 80-watt iron plastic welding kit. So it comes with the iron welder, these plastic strips which I use to melt and do the plastic welding, and then this is the metal mesh, and I just cut it with some side snips, and that's it.